Hello and welcome to Swim Sets by the Pool podcast. This is the podcast where we give you a bunch of free swim workouts, a bunch of tips on how to swim better. I'm a professional triathlete. My name's Nathan Cohen. With me is the one and only Greg Harper, aka the fastest swimmer in triathlon. Greg Harper, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. It's 45 degrees in New York today, which is
Oh, that's
apparently
warm.
I apparently that's a good day for me now. So my perception has changed since I've left California. But yeah, had a nice 3K easy swim in sauna this morning. So sometimes those easy swims are the best. Although I had a company today because sometimes the easy swims can also be sort of long. It's weird how your mindset can determine how enjoyable or how long a swim feels. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. So today we have a little bit of a unique episode for you guys. Um, Start of the season, a lot of people are getting ready for those first races right around the corner. I know Greg is racing Oceanside 70.3, and I think when this comes out, Oceanside will be 2 weeks away. So this episode is kind of just what you should be doing to prepare for 70.3 swims and open water swimming, especially if you're new to open water swimming. Maybe this triathlon that you have coming up will be your first time swimming in open water. I've talked to a lot of age group triathletes where their first triathlon is their first open water swim. So we're hopefully going to give you guys a bunch of tips on things you can do to be a little bit more prepared, because there's so many like little things too with triathlon where it's like you get that one little tip and you're like, oh, this made my whole race and whole experience so much better. Like bungee laces on the run shoes. It's like the first time you hear that, you're like, that makes so much sense. It's like so much easier to put your shoes on and like,
100%.
yeah, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And that's what triathlon is. It's like it's swim, bike, and run, but there's all these little quick tips, and if you're to figure them out on your own, you'd have to race 20 times to figure them all out. But hopefully we can knock off a few of them for you so you don't have to make a bunch of mistakes to learn.
Yeah, for sure. And me and Greg, we've been doing triathlon for a super long time. I mean, I did my first triathlon in 2012, so it's been like 12, 13 years now. Greg, how long have you been doing triathlon?
I mean, on and off. I did my first triathlon when I was 8. That
Dang.
was 25 that was 25 years ago.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm a four-time Iron Kid national champion. It's whatever.
Nice.
Whatever. No big deal. Um, okay, so I'm starting off with the quick tip of the day. We're going to give you lots of quick tips. This can kind of segue into other things, but
Hmm.
when you put on your wetsuit, make sure you pull it up and have some slack in the shoulders because people get restricted in their shoulders, and if there's rolls by your sleeves, like make sure you pull it up, onto your wrists and get a little bit of slack in the shoulders because that's where you want more material so you have a little bit more to play with. And I see a lot of triathletes and their wetsuits just aren't on properly. Like
Hmm.
it's not pulled up enough on the legs and into like your crotch and then up on your arms and into your shoulders. Like that's big, and that can be the make or break between I feel good and I feel restricted and awful in a swim, which can set the tone for your whole race. I mean, like you said, a little thing can go a long way.
Yeah. My favorite thing to do in the morning at 70.3s, because I haven't raced at 70.3, but I've spectated a lot, is just walk down the line of age group athletes and help people zip up their wetsuits. Because like I'll see people and it's like 6 inches are unzipped from the top and they don't know. So I'm just like, hey, pat them on the back. I'm like, can I zip up your wetsuit all the way? And they're like, oh yeah, thanks, please. And then I like zip it up for them. So yeah, just
You're
have
a
someone
nice guy.
check, because like Oceanside is a crazy transition area and it's not super spectator friendly. So your husband or wife or best friend who's coming to watch you race might not be able to help you get that wetsuit on. So just like everyone's nice in triathlon for the most part. Like tap someone on the shoulder and be like, hey, did I zip it up all the way? Something like that. So yeah.
Yeah,
And Greg's
100%.
tip with the shoulders, huge, huge.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a really good tip. Um, and make sure you have tried it on beforehand as well. I mean, and if you haven't swam in it before, I think you should try it out if you've never worn a wetsuit before. But if you've worn wetsuits and you got a new wetsuit, I don't really think you have to put it on. I mean, maybe to see if it fits and swim with it, but just in your house, put it on and make sure it feels, um, adequate. And check the zipper too, because try. different wetsuits have different zippers. Some are like a top zip, some are a bottom zip. So just be comfortable with how you put on a wetsuit and how to zip it up. So like Nate says, you might be flustered at the start line and all of a sudden your wetsuit's down and then you get water and you're going slow and it's cold water and all that type of stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, just put it on beforehand. Make sure you know what's what with your equipment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Try on the wetsuit if it's your first time wearing a swimming wetsuit. I have a bunch of friends in Ventura who are like surfers, and like surf wetsuits are, some of them are totally different. Some of them like go over your head and like zips across your chest, and like
Hmm.
the swim wetsuits, for the most part, they all have the zipper in the back. I don't think I've seen a swim wetsuit um that has a zipper in the front. So yeah, zipper on the back. I've been in triathlon transitions where people put on the wetsuit backwards. Like I told one guy at like the Ventura try one year, I was like, "Hey man, like this is like 20 minutes before the start. I'm like, the wetsuit's on backwards." And he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
That's I imagine him just going in there just swimming with like the zipper in the front.
Yeah, dude.
But like you said, I mean, and if you're out there and you know what's what and you see someone struggling, help them. Like
Hmm.
they're gonna be so grateful. Like, and you might make a friend. You might see him out on the course or you see him in the finish line after, and that's what triathlon's about. It's like not everyone out there is going, and even amongst the pro field,
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, there's rivalries and stuff, but everyone's out there who wants to help each other. And that's what we're out here. We know pros that listen to it. I'm always giving out advice and I want people to get faster and enjoy swimming, but also we just want to help each other. It's not that serious. It's just triathlon.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, I mean, I think the first goal, even if you're a pro, should just be to finish the race, you know? That's like goal number one, like finish the race. I always say like my first goal is have a smooth race where like nothing goes wrong, like nothing serious goes wrong. Like if I can execute on a smooth race, then I can focus on, okay, how do I want to pace this? How fast do I want to go? That's like always the second goal, to just like finish the race, have a smooth race, because it's triathlon. There's so many variables, so many things could go wrong. So yeah, this is yeah, this is one of the things to think about. So another one of my tips for um open water swimming and these early season races is try and stay warm before the start of the race. So bring a nice sweater, bring a hoodie or something, bring gloves. Like it's just like one of those things where you don't necessarily think like, oh, like I should bring gloves in my transition bag or whatever. Because you probably won't use them during the race. But I always like, I mean, I'm traveling to Africa pretty soon and it's super warm out there, but I'm still throwing a pair of gloves in my suitcase just in case it's like cold race morning. Because yeah, you're doing all this stuff, your hands can get cold, and you won't have as good of a feel for the water if your hands are cold. And yeah, you start the swim. But yeah, Oceanside swim, pretty cold usually, so good to bring some gloves. That's my tip.
Yeah. That no,
Mhm.
that's a great tip. And if you're cold and shivering before a race, you're just burning extra energy too. Like nothing good is going to come of that. So if it's one other thing is to check out the course map. I mean, if you're not there yet, but 2 weeks before, look at the swim and just have an idea of what you're doing. And that goes to the bike and run too. Maybe you're going to be following people and you're not really going to lead which way you go, but having an understanding of what the course is going to do, like how many buoys there are, when you're going to make a turn, is really important. And everyone needs to know how to sight. So if you've never really thought about sighting before, maybe try it out in the pool, a couple weeks before, like, pop your head up. Can you get a picture of where you're going just by, lifting your eyes out of the water in front of you? And having an idea of what the course is like is important. And when you're about to start, you can just visualize, okay, oh, I'm going kind of this way, then I'm taking a right, and then I'm coming back, and you'll just have more peace of mind. And I think there's a lot of anxiety on the start lines of triathlon.
Hmm.
So do everything you can to remember it's just a fun race and it's not that serious. But also do your homework so you can alleviate some of that stress. Like, oh, I know where I'm going. Oh, I trained for this. Oh, my friends are here. This is amazing. We're gonna have a great time. So I think alleviating that anxiety is big to just get your race started in the right direction.
Yeah, totally. And this kind of ties in with sighting and stuff. If you've been swimming in like the same pair of goggles for like a year or something, and you're paying, dude, how much do people pay for Ironmans? Like hundreds of dollars, right?
Yeah, like 500.
like
I mean,
500.
$1,000 for an Ironman.
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
entry
I know
fee.
what you're gonna say, and get a new pair of
Buy
goggles.
a $30 pair of new goggles. And like, if you like the goggles you've been swimming in for a long time, just buy the same ones but new, and then use those for the race. Because you
Yeah,
already
and
know
just
you like
save
them.
them
Yeah.
for the race too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can just have a race goggles.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, 100%. And it might not even be 30%. Hey, if you use code Harper25, you can get 25% off Blue 70 goggles, which are great goggles. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a really great tip. And yeah, I always have a pretty much a fresh pair that I use for just racing, and it'll last you a year or two. If you only use it
Mm-hmm.
6 times a year, like you don't have to keep getting a new pair every time. But yeah, have that, because goggles they'll just fog.
Yeah.
One tip I have on that, and I feel like not many people know about this. If you're about to start a swim or a swim workout, spit in your goggles, okay, and spit in the goggles themselves, in each goggle. Wipe it around with your finger and let it sit for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then go into the ocean or wherever you can, or have a bottle of water and
Mm-hmm.
rinse it out, and then don't touch it again, and then put on your goggles, and they will not fog up as quickly as they did before. It's like that little layer of spit and water is like an anti fog. So, I mean, you'll see professional swimmers and all these people doing that, because the anti fog in your goggles it'll just fade immediately. Like they only last for a few weeks. So yeah, spit in your goggles, let it sit, rinse out the spit, and then yeah, perfect anti fog. And you can see where you're going. That's will also relieve some anxiety as
Yeah,
well.
that's like the biggest thing is like if you're jumping in the ocean or the harbor or the lake or whatever, usually the sun is rising, maybe there's some glare in your eyes, there's people thrashing all around you. If you can't see on top of that, then yeah, you're going to be a little stressed out. And I mean, I've been T-boned in triathlons before, like during the swim. Like I'm swimming straight towards the buoy and someone is swimming diagonally and just runs into the side of me, and they're not going the right way, let me tell you. So it's good to be able to see where you're going. That was so fun. I can't believe that happened. That was crazy that one day.
Yeah, that's crazy. One other thing I really like the mantra of, and I got this from Brenton Ford. He like runs the Effortless Swimming channel, and he's got great podcasts and everything like that. It's like, don't be a victim, you know?
Mm,
And that's the mentality about open water. Like, it's gonna be tough out there. You're gonna be in close proximity. You're gonna choke on water at some point. It's gonna be hectic, but like, don't just be a victim out there and, oh, someone swims over you, you like pull back. Like, you got to hold your own. No one's trying to intentionally run you over, but don't have this victim mentality. You got to be strong out there, and you got to be secure in your movements, and doing all the little things like we're talking about will help you just feel more confident out there. If you're really fearful and you're a victim, you're not going to do well in the open water. So you gotta be strong-willed, and have a good mindset about it.
yeah. And then another practical thing that I do myself, because I don't handle cold water super well. I love being warm. But one thing that helps me stay calm in really cold water is, and this is kind of like against your natural reflexes as a human. Like when you jump in cold water, you want to like lift your head up and stuff and like keep your head above the water. But one thing that really helps me is just relax my shoulders, relax my neck, have my face look straight down in the water like I'm in a pool, and then just breathe a lot of air out. And just nice deep breath out, take a nice breath, breathe another one out, face in the water. And that helps me get a lot more comfortable a lot quicker with cold water swims, or even just if I'm stressed out in the ocean because there's 1,000 jellyfish around me and I don't want to get stung.
No, that's super fair. And depending on if you have a warm up or not, like if you have a few minutes to warm up, get in there and try to move around a bit. Also, go pee in your wetsuit. Like, that will warm you up. And yes, that's not like, oh my God. No, that's what people do. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
pee in your wetsuit, like, especially in super cold races. Like, that's important, because how a wetsuit works is water gets into your wetsuit, and it's between the wetsuit and your skin. There's a thin layer of water, and your body warms that up. And that's how you stay warm in a wetsuit. So if you pee in there a little bit, yes, you're going to be like swimming in pee, whatever. You're about to like piss yourself on the bike if you're doing an Ironman anyway. Like, just relax. It's a triathlon. It's not that big a deal. So, and by the end, it's probably all out of your wetsuit already. But that's, my dad taught me that when I was 12 years old. He's like, dude, pee in the wetsuit. I was doing triathlons in the Bay Area, and I
And that's
was
cold.
12 and I was skinny. And he's like, don't pee right before, wait, and then get in, warm up, and pee. And that'll warm you up and just, get you all pumped up. You're like, ooh, that feels nice. And just do a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
pee
And
inside
hopefully
me.
you're well hydrated before the start of the race, so you can just like save it. And you'll get to skip the porta potty line. All those people are trying to pee in the porta potty. You're like, dude, I'm about to start the swim in 20 minutes. I'm just gonna save it.
Yeah, and if you have to pee and you're standing there with everyone around you and like you have to pee so bad and you can't warm up anymore, just pee.
Yeah,
Like if you want to be like, hey guys, I'm gonna pee, everyone will be like, ah, ha, ha, it'll be funny. Like you don't have to like because peeing while swimming is actually very hard. So
yeah,
it's okay to piss your wetsuit in line when you're about to get into the water in
yeah,
the triathlon. It's no big deal.
yeah. It's fine. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this episode up pretty soon. What is one last tip that we can give the people that will help them for their swims in triathlon?
I would say, I mean, depending on what the race is, like Oceanside's kind of a harbor swim.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing an ocean swim or something, practice the start beforehand if
Mm-hmm.
you can, like the day or two before. Um, or even at Oceanside, walk in the harbor and get an idea of where the swim is going to go, just so you have an idea. That would be my tip. And if you're doing an ocean start and you've never run into the ocean before, you need to do that, or else you just won't do good, and
Yeah.
you'll get stuck in the in the waves, and you'll never even make it out. But unfortunately, I guess fortunately for some people, they don't do that many ocean swims anymore, sadly. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, what's you give one now? What's a good tip?
Yeah, I think practicing the start and also the day before the race, if you can go to the swim venue or just the venue in general around the same time as the race will be, because generally the weather won't change drastically over 24 hours. So go there around the same time and just be like, oh, like how cold is it in the morning here? You know? And where's the sun going to be coming up from? Is it going to be behind a mountain or a building or something or things like that? So, yeah, most people get to races more than a day before, especially if they're doing like a big Ironman or 70.3. So, yeah, just go to the race venue. And honestly, there'll be like hardly anyone there at like 7 in the morning or whatever. So you'll have like the whole thing to yourself. You just walk around, like Greg said, check out the swim area, the swim start. Um, yeah, dip your feet in the water if you can, just so you can kind of feel like, oh yeah, this is going to be really cold. And that helps you mentally prepare for it too, because it's like, oh, I know that it's going to be cold. It's not like a surprise on race day when you hop in, you're like, oh my gosh, this is way colder than I expected. It's like, no, you were expecting that, you're prepared, your expectations were in the right place. So yeah, that's kind of my last tip. And yeah, if you see me or Greg floating around at Oceanside, say hi to us. Tell us you listen to the pod. We'll try and bring some stickers and give them to people. And
I'll be the one leading out of the pro men's race first out of the water, so you could
yeah,
check that out.
Greg will probably finish the swim before any of the age group athletes actually start. So you can wave to him and be like, "Go, Greg!" as you're about to start, because like where they corral you for Oceanside is right next to the swim exit. So
Mm.
you'll literally get a front row seat to watch Greg dust all these other pros.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see how hard I want to go in this one.
yeah, it'll be good. Hard enough to get all the water
Hard
first.
enough. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
always.
Well, sweet. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I wrote all these tips down. That was about 10 solid tips for you guys. And yeah, they'll be in the show notes so you can go over them and screenshot them. And that can be your little swim checklist. Like the week leading up to the race, be like, I'm going to be so much more prepared because of Nate and Greg. And that's why we're here, just trying to help you guys swim better. So yeah, thanks for listening. Listen to another episode and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't. Trying to get more people around the world listening. So yeah, see ya.
Heck yeah. All right. Cheers, Nate. See ya.